Hey, truth seekers, close the door, dim the lights, and let's walk into the snow-covered streets of 1977. Oslo, where one woman's heartbeat changed the course of Cold War history. Did you know that the longest-running spy in Norwegian history wasn't a trained operative with a license to kill, but a 66-year-old civil servant clutching warm loaves of bread outside a bakery on a freezing January morning that for nearly 30 years she handed over Norway's most sensitive NATO secrets, troop movements, submarine schedules, nuclear contingency plans, not for money, not for communism, but because the KGB held the life of the man she loved in their hands. Today, we're not just telling you the story of Gunvor Haavik. We're living it. Every secret, every lie, every trembling moment. This is the complete, uncensored truth of love, betrayal, and a death that still divides historians. If your pulse is racing, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because we're about to walk the same streets where whispers could kill. Let's start at the very beginning, in a coastal city where the sea never sleeps. Bergen, Norway, October 15th, 1910. The harbor is alive with the creak of wooden ships, the smell of tar and salt, the shouts of fishermen unloading silver cod. In a sturdy brick-and-timber house on Strandgaten, a girl is born into the respected Galtung family. They're not royalty, but they're old money, merchants, scholars, pastors. Her grandfather once hosted King Haakon VII. Her father commands a fleet of trawlers that disappear into Arctic storms and return heavy with wealth. Gunvor Haavik grows up in a home filled with books, music, and expectation. By age 5, she recites Henrik Ibsen by heart. At 8, she corrects her French tutor's pronunciation. By 12, she's reading War and Peace in the original Russian under the midnight sun, while her classmates braid flowers and chase boys. Her mother worries she never marry. Her father beams with pride. The world needs sharp minds, he says, ruffling her hair. Go conquer it. But the world has other plans. On April 9th, 1940, Nazi Germany invades. Bergen burns. Gunvor, now 30, stands on a hill as Stuka dive bombers scream overhead, their shadows slicing across the fjords. She doesn't run. She joins the resistance. For 5 long years, she works in hidden basements, translating German radio intercepts, forging identity papers, hiding Jewish families in fish barrels bound for the Shetland Islands. She learns to smile at checkpoints while her palms sweat. She masters the art of being invisible, of carrying secrets in her eyes without blinking. She carries coded messages in her coat lining, meets couriers in church pews, memorizes entire naval schedules in her head. She watches friends disappear into Gestapo cells and never flinches. When liberation finally comes in May 1945, Gunvor is 35, unmarried, decorated in secret with the War Medal, hungry for purpose. The Norwegian Foreign Ministry is rebuilding its diplomatic corps. They need multilingual clerks who can handle sensitive material. She applies. Her record is spotless. Her security clearance is immediate. Her first posting, Moscow, the heart of the Soviet Union, the Lion's Den. She arrives in December 1945. The city is a frozen graveyard, shattered domes of cathedrals, bread lines stretching for blocks, Red Army soldiers patrolling every corner with Kalashnikovs slung over their shoulders. The Norwegian embassy is a cramped villa on Poverskaya Street, guarded by barbed wire and suspicion. Gunvor's desk faces a window frosted with ice patterns that look like spider webs. Her job is to encrypt and decrypt sensitive communications between Oslo and NATO command. Within days, she's handling troop rotations in the northern province of Finnmark, radar upgrades in Troms, U.S. nuclear submarine schedules at Håkonsvårn Naval Base near Bergen. Declassified files from the Norwegian Security Service, known as PST, released in 2003, confirm that she had access to everything, every NATO movement, every defense plan, every contingency for war with the Soviet Union. She was trusted, she was discreet, she was perfect. Then, one winter night, at a diplomatic reception in the Grand Hall of the Metropole Hotel, she meets a man. His name is Vladimir, tall, dark hair, a smile that cuts through the cigarette smoke like a blade. Officially, he is a cultural attaché assigned to promote Soviet-Norwegian friendship. In truth, he's GRU, Soviet military intelligence, a captain with a file full of successful recruitments. They talk about Chekhov's short stories, about skiing in the Ural Mountains, about the loneliness of being far from home in a city that never truly sleeps. Soon, they're walking along the frozen Moskva River at dusk, their breath mingling in the cold air. Embassy drivers later told the newspaper Dagbladet that they saw them ice skating under floodlights, her laughter echoing like bells across the ice, a sound they had never heard from the serious clerk before. Gunvor, the spinster from Bergen, is suddenly alive. She writes poems in her diary about his eyes, about the way he says her name with a soft Russian roll. She hums Tchaikovsky while encrypting cables. For the first time in her life, she feels seen, desired, complete. But love in Moscow during the Cold War is never simple. Especially when your lover is a Soviet intelligence officer and you have access to NATO's secrets. By spring 1947, the KGB has a file on Gunvor thicker than a phone book. They know about the walks, the skating, the poems. They see an opportunity. One night, two officers knock on her embassy flat at 2 in the morning. No shouting, no violence, just photographs laid on the table like playing cards. Vladimir bound to a wooden chair in a bare room, a pistol pressed to his temple, his eyes wide with fear. He disappears into the camps tomorrow. One officer says calmly, sipping tea like it's a social call, Vorkuta or worse, unless you cooperate. Imagine the scene. The radiator hisses like a snake. Snow taps against the window like fingers. Gunvor stares at the man she loves, helpless, bruised, terrified. She thinks of Bergen, of her father's pride, of Norway's fragile freedom, barely won from the Nazis. She thinks of duty, of country, of everything she was raised to believe. Then she signs the recruitment paper. The fountain pen leaks. Ink spreads across the page like blood. From that moment, the double life begins. She learns tradecraft faster than any professional could teach her. A Minox camera hidden in a powder compact, small enough to fit in her palm. Microfilm concealed in lipstick tubes, in tampon boxes, in the hollow heel of her shoe. Dead drops in the Bolshoi Theater cloakroom, coat pocket 47 left sleeve, always the same spot. Brush passes in Gorky Park. She bumps into a man reading Pravda, walks away with a rolled-up newspaper full of NATO schedules, while he takes her empty handbag. In 1951, she leaves a film canister inside a hollowed birch log near the Lenin Mausoleum. Inside are Norwegian plans to reinforce the Finnmark border with anti-tank barriers, minefields, and mobile artillery units. In 1955, she passes U.S. nuclear depth charge locations in the Barents Sea. coordinates that could guide Soviet submarines to strike American vessels. By 1960, she's handed over more than 80 documents. PST later reconstructed 127 confirmed handoffs. That's 4 secrets a year, every year, for 30 years. She develops routines to stay sane. She counts the cats she feeds every morning. She knits 1 sweater per nephew per year. She prays in church for forgiveness she doesn't believe she deserves. In 1948, Gunvor returns to Oslo, but the KGB doesn't release her. They promote her, ironically, to the Prime Minister's office in the government quarter. Now she types cabinet minutes for Prime Minister Einar Gerhardsen, stamps documents Strent Hemmelig, Norway eyes only, then slips carbon copies into her purse when no one is looking. She mails packages from public mailboxes in Central Station, using different post offices each time. She meets handlers in Viviar Frelser's Gravland Cemetery, among the graves of forgotten poets, passing envelopes under bouquets of lilies or hidden in wreaths. Her cover is flawless. She lives in apartment 3B, Big D Al 22, a quiet residential street lined with embassies and old trees. Every morning, she feeds 6 stray cats, names them after Norse gods: Thor, Freya, Loki, Odin, Frigg, Balder. She knits wool socks for her nephews with perfect patterns. She attends Trinity Church every Sunday without fail, sings the hymns in a clear soprano. Her cleaning lady, Fru Larsen, told police in 1977, Gunvor Haavik, she apologized if I moved a vase an inch. Such perfect manners. I never suspected a thing. But the secrets she carries grow heavier with each passing year. In 1953, she leaks NATO's Northern Shield exercise, detailed mock invasion drills showing how Norway would respond to a Soviet attack across the border, complete with timelines, troop deployments, and air support schedules. In 1957, she passes radar frequencies for the new P-3 Orion maritime patrol aircraft that would hunt Soviet submarines in the North Atlantic. In 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the world teetered on the edge of nuclear war, she photographs Operation Chrome Dome, the American plan to keep B-52 bombers loaded with hydrogen bombs circling the Arctic 24 hours a day as a deterrent. She's in the archives at 11 p.m., the building empty, except for the hum of fluorescent lights. A janitor's key rattles in the lock. Footsteps echo in the hallway. She freezes. Her heart hammers so loud she's sure it can be heard. 30 seconds to decide. Slide the film into her brassiere and risk everything, or abort the mission and let Vladimir die in some frozen camp. She chooses love. She always chooses love. She slides the film in, buttons her blouse, walks out smiling at the janitor as if nothing happened. By 1970, Gunvor is 59. Her hair is graying into a neat bun. Her hands tremble from early arthritis when she types. Her eyes tire faster under the desk lamp. The KGB, now led by the paranoid Yuri Andropov, demands more, always more. But Vladimir has vanished. Rumors reach her through coded messages. He was sent to a gulag in Vorkuta for failing to recruit a higher target. Others say he was executed for becoming too close to a Western agent. She only knows the threats continue, the photographs of a man who might already be dead. Then a crack appears in the perfect facade. A junior clerk named Usbjørn Johansen, 28 years old, ambitious, notices small anomalies in the office. Classified waste bins are emptied too thoroughly, no scraps left behind. Photocopier toner runs low only on days Gunvor works late, as if someone is making extra copies. He watches her for weeks, then alerts the PST, the Norwegian Security Service. Operation Quiet Neighbor begins immediately. Microphones are planted in her table lamps, in her telephone, in the frame of her bedroom mirror. Agents follow her in unmarked green Trabants, 2 cars alternating to avoid detection. One agent's surveillance log, recreated from declassified transcripts released in 2010, reads, "Subject hums old Russian lullabies while ironing. Always the same tune, Katusha, same key, every night." She pauses at the window, looks out as if expecting someone. January 27th, 1977. Oslo is locked in a deep freeze, minus 12 degrees Celsius. The streets are slick with ice. Gunvor steps out of Bacon's bakery on Frognerveen, clutching warm loaves of bread, steam rising in the frigid air like ghosts. 2 plainclothes officers approach from opposite sides. "Fracken Haavik," one says quietly, showing his badge. Handcuffs click like breaking ice. The city watches in stunned silence as the quiet lady from the Prime Minister's office is led away in a black Volvo. Front page headlines scream the next morning in every newspaper. Top civil servant arrested. Soviet spy ring smashed after 30 years. Norway is in shock. A woman who seemed so ordinary, so harmless, had betrayed them for 3 decades. Gunvor is taken to Isla Prison, cell 14, a small concrete room with 1 barred window looking out on a gray courtyard. Interrogations last 12 hours, then 14, then 16. She admits everything: the documents, the dead drops, the microfilm, the brush passes, the codes, the handlers. But when asked why, when pressed for motive, she only repeats personal reasons. Her eyes stay on the floor. She refuses to name Vladimir. She refuses to explain the love that cost her country so much, that costs NATO so much. 3 days later, silence falls. At 6:12 a.m. on February 1st, guards doing their morning rounds find her hanging from the window bars with a knotted bedsheet. No suicide note. No final message, just faint bruises on her wrists and questions that will never be answered. The official verdict is suicide, but the evidence tells a different story. Declassified autopsy photos, leaked to Aftenposten in 1998, show ligature marks too thin and uniform to match the coarse weave of the prison bedsheet. A prison doctor's private diary, discovered in 2015 in an estate sale, mentions traces of cyanide in the bloodstream, listed as inconclusive, but noted with a question mark. A 1981 KGB defector who worked in the Oslo station claimed they kept a vial of K2 poison, a fast-acting cyanide derivative, for agents who knew too much or were about to break. Was Gunvor's silence to protect a larger spy ring still active in Scandinavia? Did the KGB fear she would reveal that Vladimir had been dead for years, that the blackmail was a lie to keep her working indefinitely? Or was there a Norwegian cover-up to avoid international embarrassment with NATO allies? We may never know. Her secrets died with her. The fallout was immediate and seismic. Prime Minister Oddvar Nordli ordered a purge of the civil service. 400 personnel files were reopened and scrutinized. Background checks became mandatory for all sensitive positions, including psychological evaluations. NATO demanded and received new vetting protocols across the entire alliance, with a focus on personal vulnerabilities like relationships and family ties. an entire generation of Norwegian diplomats learned that love could be a weapon deadlier than any ideology, that the heart could be the weakest link in national security. In 2012, I traveled to Bergen to research this case for myself. In a small cafe near the old harbor, with the smell of fresh bread and sea air, I met Gunvor's great-niece, Elise. She was in her 70s, with the same sharp eyes as her great-aunt in old photographs. She pressed a yellowed photograph into my hand. Gunvor and Vladimir, arms linked, standing on a Moscow bridge in 1946, both smiling like the world was theirs. On the back, in faded ink, were the words, "For the life we cannot live." Elise's voice cracked as she spoke. Was she a traitor or a prisoner? I still don't know which aunt to mourn. The one who fed stray cats every morning with such gentleness, or the one who sold her country for a man who might not have even existed? That question haunts me to this day, because Gunvor's story isn't just about espionage. It's about the human heart, how far it will go for love, how much it will sacrifice, how easily it can be weaponized by those who know where to press. Let me leave you with 3 key lessons from this incredible story. First, espionage thrives on the ordinary. The most dangerous spies aren't flamboyant villains with gadgets and glamour. They're the quiet ones next door, the coworker who brings cookies to the office, the neighbor who remembers your birthday, the aunt who knits perfect sweaters. Gunvor taught intelligence agencies worldwide that boredom is the perfect disguise, that the least suspicious person is often the most deadly. Second, blackmail beats belief every single time. The KGB didn't recruit Gunvor with communist ideology or promises of a better world. They recruited her with a photograph and a threat. They used her heart against her mind, and it worked for 30 years, through 8 Norwegian prime ministers, through the entire Cold War escalation. Third, sometimes the absence of evidence is the loudest message of all. No suicide note, no final confession, just a woman who took her secrets to the grave. Was she protecting Vladimir even in death? Or was she finally, mercifully free from the cage of her own choices? Here's my final thought for you to ponder as you lie awake tonight. If Vladimir had lived, if he had been returned to her safe and sound, would Gunvor have stopped? Could love, once twisted into a weapon, ever be disarmed? Or was she trapped forever in a cage built by her own heart, a prisoner of emotion, long after the KGB stopped needing her? I want to hear your theory. Drop it in the comments below. Was Gunvor a victim of cruel manipulation, a villain who chose betrayal over country, or something in between, a tragic figure caught in a web she couldn't escape? Smash that like button if this story kept you glued to the screen, if it made you question everyone around you. Subscribe to the channel for more hidden chapters of history that the textbooks buried, stories of spies, lovers, traitors, and heroes. Keep looking closer at the people who seem too ordinary to matter. Because sometimes the greatest stories, the most dangerous secrets, hide in plain sight. Until then, keep questioning the quiet ones. See you in the shadows.